Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As I've been talking about getting rid of anxiety and so forth, but for Friday's Fears and Phobias, I've already spoken about getting rid of belongings. So I'm going to carry on with this. And this is a talk about the top 100 phobias. And this is number 21. It's called the fear of people, and it's called Anthropophobia. Anthropophobia. So it's the fear of people. And it's number 21 in the 100 list of fears and phobias, what most people deal with. Now, as I'm a hypnotherapist, I can explain what this phobia is and how we work with it. So, anthropophobia is the extreme and irrational, unwarranted fear of people or society. It's why a lot of people have anxiety because of people, how they fear them. It is a disorder which is often misunderstood with other social phobias. The main difference between them is that in anthropophobia, the individual fears people in most or all situations, rather than, for example, only fearing people during public speaking, or when eating before others, or as the case with social phobias. Thus, the difference between a social phobia and extreme fear of people is subtle, and hence diagnosis is often difficult. Also, if someone's agoraphobic, means they don't like going out of the house, that can be quite common as well. So in anthropophobia, the individual might fear even close friends and relatives perceive them as being threatening as much as a stranger. The person with the extreme fear of people understands that their fear is illogical. Despite this, they let the phobia interfere in their daily lives, education or occupation. They arrange these activities so that there is minimal interaction with people. And this is where the issue is with COVID, when people then, if they had issues and they had lack of confidence or introverts, and then once they were at home, getting them back to the office has been a really big thing, because a lot of people actually don't like people. They actually like their own space, their own time, not interacting, and they'd rather interact with a computer talking to people than actually interact face to face. So this was a big issue. The cause of fear of people phobia, an intense negative experience with people in the past, might have triggered the phobia of people. Now, this can happen when you go to overcrowded spaces, people who've laughed at you on something, ridiculed you, bullied. That can stem from school as well. The mind can sometimes wrongfully learn to fear people. This could be in a situation when you're around new people and you're not too sure who they are. People with general tendency of being highly strung or over anxious might also develop anthropophobia. Physical problems or adrenal insufficiency can also lead to this condition. So the symptoms of anthropophobia, most of us are a little antisocial from time to time. This is what we call an introvert. Certain situations, mood swings can lead us all to not feeling like association with others. In case of anthropophobia, though, however, the mere thought of socialising can trigger a plethora of physical or psychological anxiety symptoms. These include trying to avoid social events at all costs, going to great lengths to do so, feeling panic at the thought of going out, or experiencing terror when having to meet people. Symptoms may be present days before the crucial or actual encounter with people. You have an increased heart rate, shortness of breath, feeling like you're being choked, difficulty in swallowing, increased blood pressure, sweating, trembling, crying, and the thoughts of death, fear of embarrassing oneself in public are also experienced by the phobic. So the idea of people being embarrassed in public is very much something where this also leads to many people, when I've worked with them, who want to do public speaking. And that's linked to something when they were a child, or sometime they did a speech, something, and they wet themselves or got nervous, or something went wrong, or they puked, or all these things. And they always, that trigger then gets them worried, and it then stops them from performing or speaking in front of people. So professional therapies are also beneficial in helping one overcome anthropophobia. So as a hypnotherapist, this is particularly can help one to get to the root of the problem, right? And because it's a reframe, it's a reframing why people don't like people, following which can utilise systematic desensitisation that involves exposing the phobic gradually to strong fear triggers. So this would be, you would get them to go in a crowd of people, going outside, so forth. Ali Campbell talks about this in one of his videos when he was doing training recently, about how he had to get someone who was out of the house, then they now love going out, they love travelling on planes, they love going around people. I would say to myself, and this is something honestly I understand people, but I don't like a lot of people. I like helping people, but if I'm in somewhere where it's very crowded or something like that, I'm not a fan of it. It's not I'm a phobic, I just don't prefer it, that's all. Another popular and highly effective therapy to help overcome the fear of people is Morita therapy from Japan. And this is based on Zen Buddhism principles that help correct phobias by first helping the individual accept them. So instead of pushing the fear aside, one learns to accept being afraid and then find ways to deal with it positively. Talk therapy is an important part of coping with the fear of people phobia, and loved ones and friends of people suffering from anthropophobia can also help by being supportive and offering encouragement as far as possible. Now, when I'm going to be talking in the future with travel and so forth, I talk about the fear of flying, fear of people, fear of planes, all these things. Again, a lot of it is not always the fear of that flight taking off or whatever. It can be the fear of people, being around people. And that's also where we've got to be wary of when we do things on the news of how we fear people. You know, the idea of fear of immigrants, the fear of terrorists, the fear of anything. It's always about this pushing this agenda. And a lot of people who have got this anthropophobia isn't great, because then also it mixes with xenophobia as well, and that can then cause people to have an opinion on people. Whereas actually everybody's an individual. You can't class or clasp people into a certain race or stereotype. So again, anthropophobia is the fear of people. There is ways around it, and if you are interested, ever have a discussion, or you have a fear of going out or so forth, please let me know and we can have a consultation and work with that with you. Anyway, until next time, speak to you soon.